Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to Tekpon. Today our guest is Vlad, the CEO and co-founder at InvolveMe. Hello.
Hi, Christian. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. At first, for people that don't know yet, what is InvolveMe?
Sure. So I'm happy to talk about it today. At InvolveMe, we're basically on a mission to make it as easy as possible for businesses to involve their customers in meaningful digital interactions. To achieve this, InvolveMe leverages no-code and AI to simplify and automate the creation, personalization, and automation of forms and surveys for businesses. So this is it in a nutshell. We help them gather valuable zero-party data around their customers so they can serve their customer better.
What do you say is the biggest problem that you solve with the product?
Right. I think the entry point and where InvolveMe is used most at businesses is in the lead generation area. So we help them generate, qualify, score, verify leads, and sort of put those into the right buckets, if you will, and then connect to the whole other stack. So they can either connect it to a marketing or a sales stack and automate some of the processes, whether it's inbound sales or marketing and the likes. Yes.
This is amazing. And what are your apps and features? I saw you have so many listed on the website.
Yeah. So as I said, in essence, at the core of it, we're a no-code form builder. And this is a huge, it's a huge application area. So you can create forms, surveys, quizzes, and you can apply it to different use cases, whether that be lead generation, as I told you, but it goes across the customer journey. So the most successful customers that we have start with lead generation, and then they expand to different touch points. You know, it might be onboarding, creating an onboarding flow, right, an onboarding survey where you gather valuable feedback and sort of direct users to different paths according to their profiles and their answers, up to later stages like measuring customer satisfaction with something like a net promoter score.
And do you have a favorite customer success story that you can share with us? Let's say how you exactly help them, but without giving any names or something, just as a reference.
Sure. So as you can imagine, our ideal customer profile is not necessarily based on industry because it's relatively horizontal across industries, but the common denominator, I would say, is it's marketing and sales teams, because InvolveMe makes life for them easier. They're not that dependent on developers to make quick iterations happen. So one of our customers in Europe, and I'm saying that because most of our customers are in the US.
Yeah.
But one of our customers in Europe from manufacturing are one of the biggest providers of solar panels in the EU. Mm-hmm. And basically, the way they apply InvolveMe is they created a custom price quote calculator for their customers. So when their customers come to their website, InvolveMe is sort of triggered in a pop-up where the customers can input a few of their personal requirements, and with just a few clicks and a few data that they give away, they already can get an automated price quote calculated through InvolveMe, and then also sent by email to the customer or the prospective customer, if you will.
Yeah.
And also an automated sales automation is kicked in for our customer, for the solar panel manufacturer, and they've seen their conversion rates grow by as much as 5 times with
Wow.
this implementation, which is huge. And they've been with us now for 4 years plus, and they've expanded across different areas. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And I
Sure.
can imagine that the integrations are crucial for you. So I'm wondering, why do you think they are so important, and what are the most used integrations out
Great
of them all?
question. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, no, you're spot on, Christian. I think the way we think about integration. Obviously, we started with a third party tool, Zapier, as most
Yeah.
as most SaaS do, and we quickly realized that. In order to make the experience in automating workflows as seamless and neatless as possible for our customers, we would need to have native integrations. On the one side, cost, right?
Yep.
Less of a cost if they're native. On the other side, also a time of execution, right? It doesn't go through an additional third-party tool, and also tools like Zapier, Make, and the like. They have different execution times in different tiers, right? So there are some benefits on the customer side. On the other hand, there are benefits for us as well. So every new integration that we do natively has the option or the potential for us to do co-marketing, to be present on the marketplace of that particular tool. And we've seen that work really great for us. So since we started doing native integrations, we now have over 50.
Wow.
And we're also a bootstrapped small team, right? So we have 50 native integrations, everything from the obvious candidates around CRMs, the HubSpots, the Salesforces, the Pipedrives, to marketing automation. Active Campaign might be something to name here.
Yeah.
But going down to payment gateways, as some of our customers also accept payments within InvolveMe, Stripe, Square, Braintree, PayPal. We support those natively, and then it goes into more of marketing and data, sales automation, things like Salesloft. That we have Outreach. I see you nodding your head, so those ring a bell. I think if you would ask me the most successful. In terms of across the platform, right? There are tools like Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets that are, everybody uses those.
Yes.
But in terms of the others, like across the CRMs, we see a lot of usage in HubSpot and Salesforce. So I think those would hit the mark.
I appreciate that. How about the pricing? How does it work?
Yeah, sure. So. As I told you, we're a small team. From beginning, it was important for us to create a tool that is requires as little touch as possible. We say we're no touch sales. What we mean by that is we are PLG. So we have a product led growth motion. Before PLG was cool, so before people talked about PLG,
Right.
So we started with a freemium model. Where we offer a free tier, free forever, that has certain limitations, both in terms of usage. Our main metric in tracking usage is submissions. So how many users finish a certain flow in a form, survey, whatever it is. And you get a limited number in the free tier. And obviously some limitations. Premium features are not available. And a bit of branding comes with it. But there is enough value there, so you can use it for small projects, for personal projects, indefinitely, I would say. And this is important for us to not only make it a free trial, if you will. It's just a free tier that you can actually
free
use.
forever.
Free forever. And then we offer a personal plan for individuals. That is a flat fee for the whole year, with some less restrictions, I would say, so some additional features and more usage cap. And then it goes into the business pricing, and that starts from $49 a month, and it goes up to really up to some scale pricing and enterprise pricing that we have. So it can go into the 4-digit area, definitely.
Right. And I'd love to know how competitive is your space and how do you
Very
differentiate?
competitive.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saying form builder is like, it's a hugely competitive space. What I'd like to say about that is that that we have two. So we identified sort of two areas of differentiation. Before AI went into this consumer space with ChatGPT and got the awareness that it has today, there were API precursors to that, right? The GPT-2, GPT-3. That got us extremely excited since personally, this is not my first rodeo. So I've been involved in a few other SaaS companies as a founder and CEO. And I've worked with AI before it was generative. So so I worked with machine learning in the SaaS context, and I was extremely excited to see how frictionless the access has become through OpenAI basically opening the space with API access to this. So we started experimenting with it, and we decided to integrate AI across different value points within the form creation for businesses. So one is at the beginning, we use AI to automate the form creation. So you just input your website, describe your use case, and everything is handled automatically from the design to creation of content, and you get like a ready-made form that in a lot of cases you need to go into our editor and also tweak a bit, but it saves 90% of your creation time.
Okay.
So that's an extreme value add-on if you talk about automation of processes. The second one is in personalization. So once you have created a form, a survey, you can also use AI within that form or survey or user flow to give personalized feedback according to the answers a user has given. So each user could get a different response with AI that you can pre-prompt, obviously, beforehand, how to use those responses and data from each user to give personalized feedback. That's the second, and the third is in the analytics and space. So once you have a form, you gathered a lot of data. Maybe it is also qualitative data. So open-ended questions where each user would give you a different answer. Yeah. It's a hassle to go and sift through all the data, tag it, label it, and make sense out of it. So what we did is we created an AI-based report that you can do at the click of a button. It summarizes your data. It gives you key insights out of that data, recommendations, conclusions, and you can download it also as a PDF report to use it within your company. So
super smart.
So these are pretty interesting differentiators where we saw, AI is not a gimmick, is something where we can reduce work time, increase efficiency, automate processes and workflows. And that's where we sort of focused.
Nice. I love it. I'd love to know now the second part of the podcast. When exactly did you start the company and what was the story behind it?
Yeah, it's a very long story, but I'll keep it. I'll keep it short. We started the company way back in 2017, and the first product that we started was something completely different. If you remember, and for the ones who listen, put yourself back in late 2016, early 2017. There was a different hype. It was not about AI. It was not about blockchain. I mean, it was probably a bit about blockchain, but really, really early. And it was a lot about VR. Right. These days, you see pictures of people wearing the Apple Vision Pro on the street. Back then, it was the Oculus and HTC Vive,
Right.
so different tools, and we created the prototype of helping businesses create applications for VR. And what we did is we tried to build a CMS for VR applications. Needless to say, it didn't pan out, but it was a nice experiment. And in the process, we started doing some agency work and got a few customers for whom we started building forms, surveys, and quizzes that sort of led us to the path of Involve Me. I think one interesting learning there is that we approach these customers and ask them like, hey, why don't you use off-the-shelf tools? You know, the Typeform was already a thing back then, and it's a pretty neat tool. And there were also others, and they gave us sort of the information that made us think where the differentiators would lie, and we built those like in a no-code fashion, and later on we started automating them with AI. So that's the story.
And after that, you saw this concept fail, and then you started Involve Me.
Yeah. So again, these the few customers where we built some forms for, those we managed to do customer development discussions with them, and nice. Out of it grew the idea of Involve Me, and we turned those early agency customers into subscribers on the SaaS platform, and then we launched it officially in April 2019. It was from April that we completely switched fully to SaaS, and it worked well for us. Yeah.
And today, how big is your team?
As I told you, it's a bootstrapped company. We never took institutional money, so we grew at a steady pace at our own pace. We're profitable with a team of 14 people today.
Nice.
And we have a few thousand customers. We're 7-figure ARR.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice. And how about the team? How do you build it? What are your lessons here?
Yes.
It's not a big team, but in order to have the dream team, like 14 people and do 7-figure ARR, you need to know some tips. So I'll have to pick your brain on that.
Yeah, I think it's an ongoing learning for me as well. As I told you, it's not my first company, but you have some things that you build on top of with each experience, but then a lot of other external factors change, so you have to adapt. Right? My previous company, remote was not a thing, so we started it back in 2013, and then it was a different world. Talent was way more local. This changed with Involve Me. So when I started building the team, me and my co-founders, the first person to join the team was actually also an entrepreneur. So I think it was interesting for me to see, okay, can we bring somebody in the team who then later became the lead software developer?
Nice.
And he is an entrepreneur. He had started different projects, different businesses. He's actually also in Bucharest, so shout out to Răzvan.
Good.
and I think that helped us immensely because we all had the same drive and the entrepreneur's perspective on things, and an additional factor was remote. As I said, it gave us the option to expand the search and have talent from really different places and not be bound to the Austrian market where our company is based.
Yeah.
Even though we operate mostly outside of Austria and even the EU, we are still based here as a company. Talent is scarce. It is what it is, if you look only locally. But then expanding it gave us the opportunity to find A players that are based in Portugal, for instance, in Romania, as I said, in Nigeria even. So yeah, we have a very diverse team. I think that also counts into everything. We have the only Austrians are my co-founders, and everyone else, including myself, we're from all over the world. So we're
Nice.
over 8 nationalities in this small team. So that's that contributes, I think, also to a global perspective on building a global product.
I love that. I'm curious now, what was your biggest challenge since starting the company? Or some lessons learned, mistakes made, something that you can share with the founders listening.
Yeah, sure. So definitely, I think there are so many, right? it just gets me thinking. I think one interesting thing is that we started developing the product very horizontally in the beginning, and I think there is the saying, every other founder will know it. There's riches in niches. So meaning, okay, go more focused in the beginning. Try to have a few customers in certain niche that really love your product, and then expand. We didn't do that in the beginning. We started doing it later with focusing our features also around lead generation. But I think we did a lot of things right, but this could have killed us, right? So my advice would be just really focus on the smallest niche possible. Obviously, it needs to be big enough to support a business, but still, if you cover too big of a surface area, especially in terms of features and so forth, in the beginning, it might kill you, because you would never deliver 100% on any given one, right?
Right.
Now, we did a lot of other things right, and the fact that we had this vertical focus, this horizontal focus at the beginning, now it's actually a benefit, because we have we cater to a lot of good use cases, and it ties in very well. And I think one of the good things that we did is that we went global from day one. Now, this doesn't apply to every product, obviously, or service, but we did it from day one. In our case, why should we restrict ourselves to this market? It's always tempting, I guess, because it's the market that it's maybe the people you have a network. It's easier to get going. What we did is we just said, okay, let's see if we can put this on Google Ads and drive traffic from the US and do a self-service motion, and see if people pay for this, and do it low friction with a freemium. It's a setup that is scalable if it works, and it did. It did. Of course, it didn't. There were also a lot of mishaps and so forth,
Right.
But overall, a net positive,
Yes.
and that led us to achieve a certain level of scale, and also reach profitability without having to go for institutional money.
That was my next question about how you found your first customers and the go-to-market strategies that you used. So you already answered it. So
Yeah, I
I'll
mean,
go to
I'd circle back to the
yeah.
other thing that obviously the first ones that I mentioned were the agency customers were that we turned. So
Yes.
there was something of a bit of a focus locally because it was easier to get to them. But then to like validate the self-service scale of it, that was then through Google Ads. And I know a lot of people will say like, "Oh no, don't don't do Google Ads." I mean, if you do it intentionally, you know why you do it. You don't just like throw money at it. And for the first year, I did all the campaigns, the optimization, everything. So, a lot of people tell you founders should go out there and talk to the customers. So yeah, I did support and I did Google Ads. So I did sales
Yes.
and talking to the customers, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So that being said, my next ask would be, why did you decide to bootstrap? Why not raise investment?
Yeah. I First of all, I'd like to say there's tons of discussions on Twitter and on LinkedIn about bootstrap versus
Yes.
VC.
Yeah.
I find the discussions interesting because it's also new phenomenon, relatively new phenomenon that is sort of this battle almost. From my perspective, I don't think it's an either or discussion. I think the reality can be way more colorful, right? A mixture of what you do, and I think you need to be you need to be intentional about why you need money and where you invest it, right? And in some cases, institutional money might be the way to go. In some cases, bootstrapping, at least to a certain point, might be the way to go. And this was sort of our mentality in the beginning. I talked to a lot of founders, investors, VCs, friends with exits, and the conclusion was: do you have something that is a $1 billion business, or do you have something that is a profitable, 8, even 9-figure ARR business? And I came to the conclusion that this might be the latter. Also a small asterisk, my previous company, I experienced also the venture track. So I had a part exit, and then I'm still a minority shareholder, and I've seen the company go from us bootstrapping it in the beginning, and now having raised Series D from SoftBank and over 120 million raised. So I've got a bit of a sense of both,
Okay.
and both make sense. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And also a combination of both might make sense. I think maybe my take out of all these experiences is, whatever it is it the $1 billion or whatever other type of business it is, or you think it is, it's best if you can to bootstrap to a certain point, just to validate, just to not dilute in the beginning, to keep the ownership, to have also the autonomy to test out what your vision is, up to a certain point, and then you can always decide to go one route or the other. It's not like I decided bootstrap and this is it, or the other way around.
No, great mindset. Thank you for sharing. I think this is really valuable. Now we arrived at the last part. I'd love to know a bit more about yourself and your story. Basically, how you started your career.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's way back. So I'm originally from Romania. Shout out to Arad. That's a place where I grew up, and then basically I spent my early to mid 20s in Bucharest.
Yeah.
Out of university, I had my first company. Basically, my diploma translated into a company. It was 2007, Romania had joined the EU, and there were a lot of European funds waiting to be deployed in Romania across different industries. What I did is I created a consulting company that created the business plans needed to get European funding,
Right.
especially in industry and agriculture. That's where I focused, and that was my first entrepreneurial experience, which was completely different than SaaS, and it was. The technology I used was Word, basically.
Right.
But that gave me the insight on creating business plans, looking at the financials, projections, and stuff like that. So that was definitely a formative experience, I would say. And then later on, I moved to Austria in 2010, and there I just got involved in the startup scene. I created the first TEDx event here.
Nice.
I'm still running it together with my wife as a nonprofit 14 years later.
Nice.
And that also opened up sort of the world of networking towards startups and technology companies and founders. And then I got involved with a few that were already successful, I would say, here in Austria. And then I co-founded a few companies. Some of them, or most of them, were failures if I look back. But those were very important failures, I would say. And then some of them were successful. And here I am.
After all this experience, what would be your best piece of advice for starting founders? Or to you, when you are, let's say, 20, 25, when you're just starting out?
Yes. So I think it's a very different world than 2007 when I started out.
Yes.
Not only in terms of the context but also the tools that you have, and the sheer amount of knowledge and advice that that it's out there. Tools, no-code tools, right? I'm in the no-code and AI space. The no-code and AI tools that you have at hand, I think it's easier than ever to prototype and test out something, not only locally, but also directly globally from day one. So I think the only thing that stayed the same is this fear of failure, and the fear of the unknown. Even though there are so many resources, like your podcast, for instance, right, that educate people.
Yeah.
So I think it's sort of a cliche almost, but I think it's important. I mean, it is true, nevertheless, just to go out there and not be afraid of failure, and not only not be afraid of it while starting out, but just looking to do the failure. I think maybe that's a bit of a shift in perspective. The failures are extremely important. If you don't do the failures, you think you're always right. You think you're always on the right track. And you might be lucky. You might be lucky and get it right, but it's not because you are the genius who you think you are. But I think if you do the failures will teach you the lessons the hard way, and they will stay with you much longer and in a different fashion. They will humble you.
Yes.
And I think there is room for failure. Don't be afraid to make them. And especially if you're at the start of your career, like that's where you can make a lot of failures, right?
Yeah. Success is a bad teacher, as the saying goes.
Success is a bad teacher.
Yeah. Awesome. I love this. I have one last question for you. Sure. What's your favorite SaaS product, software product that you use, but apart from Involve Me?
Yeah, sure. So I would say though that I use Involve Me a lot also in Involve Me. When you do an account, you'll get like an onboarding survey that's done with Involve Me. But no, to answer your question, it's not that spectacular. It's Slack. It's Slack. I use it across all the teams. It's on my mobile, on my laptop, at home. So I think if I think about, and if I would open now the iPhone and see like what is the app usage across all the apps, it would be Slack without a doubt.
Thank you for sharing. Is there anything else that you want to tell us today on the podcast?
Probably so many things, but I would save them for a second invite. Just plugging that in.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for joining, Vlad. You did fantastic, and I really enjoyed it.
Christian, thanks a lot for the opportunity. I'm happy to be here, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.